How's it going, guys? Cameron here with Canadian Gamer, coming at you with a little bit of a rant. So, as many of you have heard, Nintendo Switch pricing has changed. No, we're not talking about the Switch 2. We're talking about the original Nintendo Switch, effective August the 3rd. The original Switch, including the OLED model and the Switch Lite, have gone up in price by $30 to $50. And this is coming right from the Nintendo website. Folks, we can talk about it till the cows come home as to why the pricing has gone up. We can go from tariffs to the weak economy, conspiracy theories. But the one thing that nobody really seems to be talking about, Digital Foundry talked about it last week. I've been talking about it for quite a while. This is ultimately going to be the downfall of the Switch 2. The Switch 2 came out at the wrong time. We're in the middle of some economic turmoil. And from a developer's point of view, it doesn't make sense to release a game exclusively for the Switch 2. There's just way too big of a existing base of players on the Nintendo Switch, the original Switch, to leave that console behind. It seems to me that there's a lot of consumers out there that are going to the point of sale and they're looking at the price of the Switch and the Switch 2 and they're opting for the Switch. It's hard to tell really what the difference is between the two consoles other than the price. We're talking about the casual consumers, the mother or the father that goes to the store, right? So I bet you Nintendo, behind the scenes are looking at their numbers and they're seeing that the Switch, the original Switch, is selling probably like hotcakes right now. And so they've opted to increase the price of the original Switch to try to push consumers towards getting a Switch 2. Again, there's not enough to differentiate the Switch from the Switch 2, okay? There's not enough exclusives. There's no exclusives whatsoever. Hardly any at all for the Switch 2. There is absolutely no reason to buy a Switch 2 right now. There's plenty of reasons to buy an original Switch, used. I wouldn't pay for one brand new, especially with the price increase. But this, like I said, this is going to be the downfall of the Switch 2 right now. There's just not enough to differentiate the Switch 2 from the Switch right now. Unfortunately, just the way it is, right? So, this kind of happened back when the Wii U came out. It wasn't different enough from the Wii. And the Wii U was a failure. Now, the Switch 2 has sold quite a few consoles out of the gate. Hey, so did the Xbox Series X when it came out. Things are starting to slow down now, right? So I think over time, give it a couple of years, I think the Switch 2 is just going to get put out to pasture. It's too confusing. From a consumer's perspective, you're looking at the Switch and you're looking at the Switch 2 and you don't really know what the difference is. And right now there's a lot of families out there that are struggling to make ends meet. It just does not make sense to buy a Switch 2. The Switch, if you want to pull the trigger and buy one brand new, even with the price increase, it makes way more sense to buy a Switch and go out and buy a bunch of games for, $29.99 or $39.99 than to pull a trigger on a Switch 2 and just sit there and play Mario Kart World and the new Donkey Kong game, right? Donkey Kong Bonanza. That's all you got. So, yeah, I'm calling it now. Switch 2 ultimately will end up being a failure. It will not be as successful as the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo does not want to let go of the Nintendo Switch, the original model. That will continue to exist for as long as the Switch 2 exists. And then when it comes time for Nintendo to come out with a new console, 8 or 9 years from now, they're going to have to come out with something different, unfortunately, because like I said, the Switch 2 is suffering the same fate as the Wii U. Consumers are extremely confused right now. So, yeah, I think this is it. I think this is the end of Nintendo as we know it. Anyways, leave it in the comments below. What are your thoughts on the price increase of the original Nintendo Switch? Anyways, I'm headed off to Montreal this weekend. I'm going to try to do a few pickups, and then I'll come back with a video hopefully on Monday. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good night.